this is Delia again. I'm reading The Struggle. And I'm on chapter 8, and this is part 2. No, I don't know. Suddenly, Elena felt very tired. She was worried about Bonnie and about the consequences of their foolish words. Well, I can do anything to you and the ones who you love. She remembered what might Damon do now. She didn't understand him. He was different every time they met. In the gym, he'd been taunting and laughing at her. But the next time, she would swear that he'd been serious, quoting poetry to her, trying to get her to come away with him. Last week, with the icy graveyard, wind lashing around him, he'd been menacing and cruel. And underneath his mocking words last night, she felt the same menace. She couldn't predict what he'd do next. But whatever happened, she had to protect Bonnie and Meredith from him, especially since she couldn't warn them properly. And what was Stefan up to? She needed him right now, more than anything. Where was he? It started that morning. Let me get this straight, Matt said, leaning against the scarred body of his ancient Ford sedan, when Stefan approached him before school. You want to borrow my car? Yes, Stefan said. And the reason you want to borrow it is for flowers? You want to get some flowers for Elena? Yes. And these particular flowers, these flowers you've just got to get, don't grow around here? Well, they might, but their blooming season is over this far north, and the frost would have finished them off anyway. So you want to go down south, how far south you don't know, to find some of these flowers that you just got to give to Elena. Or at least some of the plants, Stefan said. I'd rather have the actual flowers, though. And since the police still have your car, you want to borrow mine for however long it takes you to go down south and find these flowers that you just got to give to Elena. I figure driving is the least conspicuous way to leave town, Stefan explained. I don't want the police to follow me. And that's why you want my car? Yes. Are you going to give it to me? Am I going to give my car to the guy who stole my girlfriend and now wants to take a jaunt down south to get her some kind of special flowers she's just got to have? This is funny. Are you crazy? Matt, who had been staring out over the roofs of the frame houses across the street, turned at last to look at Stefan. His blue eyes, usually cheerful and straightforward, were full of utter disbelief and surmounted by twisted, puckered brows. Stefan looked away. He should have known better. After everything Matt had already done for him, to expect more was ridiculous, especially these days when people flinched from the sound of his step and avoided his eyes when he came near. To expect Matt, who had the best of reasons to resent him, to do him such a favor with no explanation, on the basis of faith alone, really was insane. No, I'm not crazy, he said quietly, and turned to go. Neither am I, Matt had said, and I'd have to be crazy to turn my car over to you. Hell no, I'm going with you. By the time Stefan had turned back around, Matt was looking at the car instead of him, lower lip thrust forward in a wary, judicious pout. After all, he'd said, rubbing at the flaking vinyl of the roof, you might scratch the paint or something. That's funny. Okay, and that's part 2, and I'm continuing to part 3.